All right, so y'all, welcome to the Sideline Story Podcast. This is the Dallas Mavericks Chronicles Playoff Edition. We got a special guest in the building. What's up, Rod?
What's up, bro? How you doing? You doing all right?
Oh yeah, man, I'm blessed. Can't complain, man. How you doing?
Chilling, bro. Chilling. Same.
I bet. If I told you that the Mavericks would play a playoff game and at the end of the first half they'd have 30 points, would you believe me?
Nah, bro. Nah, that the shooting percentage in the first quarter was it was unexpected, bro. Like when you when you think about them matching up against the Clippers, they average at best 118. So seeing them having 30 at the end of the first, it was just I don't want to call it nerves, but it was just bad shooting, bro. It was bad shooting. They couldn't hit. They couldn't hit nothing. And the Clippers could. The Clippers was making everything.
Yeah, they was. So to start, when the game first started, I was watching the pace. It had some pretty good has pretty good energy, pretty good pace to start the game off, and we got exposed immediately because they immediately went to Zubac in the post, and he saw immediate success. And with Daniel Gaffer picking up 2 fouls, we know that was going to be a weak spot in this particular game. Zubac actually ended the game with 20 points and 15 rebounds. That's his playoff career high, I believe. And not for nothing, though, I was telling y'all in the group chat that the Clippers were playing physical against Luka. They were playing very physical. I feel like they forced him into a lot of ill-advised jump shots, even though Luka takes those. But it's just like he was unable to put his imprint on the game, particularly in the first half. I feel like in the
Right.
second half, Kyrie came along a little better, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But we couldn't hit anything. That's why I was kind of saying that I think the film session, if they choose to even look at the film, I'm pretty sure some people will, but if they even choose to look as a unit, I feel like it'll be kind of easy because I feel like a lot of this they can correct because I think it was Richard Jefferson. He made an interesting point as far as like it was a point during the game where all the Mavericks when they take a 3-point attempt, it looked like they lacked confidence even in their jump shot. You know what I'm saying? So it was like we lost confidence. We was missing chippies. We we were turning the ball over. It felt like the Clippers they just wanted it more. And I was watching that and picking up where I left off with the Zubac comment, how he was when he saw immediate success in the post. That's when James Harden came along because when Kawhi was out, the first person we think about it is PG-13. It's Paul George. It's his time to shine, but that wasn't the case. We saw Zubac getting success on the glass and putting a basketball in the basket, and we saw James Harden. He kind of got whatever he wanted, especially in the first half of the game. He got whatever he wanted, whether it was a plethora of step back threes, getting his teammates involved. He had 8 assists in the game. He had 20 points at the end of the first half. So at the end of the first quarter, the notes that I have, Zubac in the post, they ain't got had 2 quick fouls. Look at LA good activity in the post. They had a lot of points in the paint. They forced the Mavericks into tough shots, and we also looked uncomfortable. And James Harden was doing it all. At the end of the first quarter, Harden and Zubac combined for 21 points. The Mavericks shot 22% from three, 2 for 9. The Clippers were 6 from 8 for 75%. So what else did you notice in that first half?
I was just see the first half. The first half was so much of a let me say I don't want to. Well, okay, I'm gonna just keep it how it is. It was more of an anomaly to me. If you look, because I'm just gonna jump full game stats just for a second. I know you said the turnovers for the Mavericks was bad. They had 8 turnovers for the game. So what I saw was they started the game off a bit sluggish, and that
Mm-hmm.
allowed the Clippers to set the tone. The Mavericks allowed the Clippers to set the tone. The Clippers didn't really set the tone themselves. The Mavericks started by like you said, the first play to Zubac. Daniel Gafford's a little slow coming over, and it gives Zubac an easy lane to the layup, and that sets the tone for Zubac. If you're gonna tell me that Zubac is going to shoot 10 for 17, score 20 points throughout the series, then the Mavericks have no shot. but luckily it's Zubac. And then you think about the field goal percentage. The Clippers for the full game didn't shoot that well. They shot 46%. A lot of the damage got done in the first half. And it wasn't due to lack of play by the Mavericks. They beat themselves in the first half, and it forced them to play comeback second half, which you can't do that in this league, especially now with how everybody shoots so well. 10 years ago, you can make a comeback down 18 and maybe be there in the fourth quarter. But when you got guys shooting threes every time down the floor and they making them, you putting yourself in harm's way. And Jason Kidd said something smart at halftime. He was just like, they asked him what could the Mavericks do to get back in the game and why was they down so much? And he said, simple, just put the ball in the hoop. It's that simple. The Mavericks beat themselves yesterday in the first half, and it took away from a lot. The Clippers shot 40 out of 87 for the game. The Mavericks shot 31 of 80. Both teams didn't shoot the ball well, but from the three, the Clippers shot 50% versus the Mavericks 30%. That's the big difference right there.
When you look at the numbers in totality, like at the end of the game, when everything's all said and done, you might look at it and say, this don't look that bad, but like what you said, the first half is really like that's the story in this game. It was the first and second quarter, because once we get to the third quarter, that's when like Kyrie, man, he came out, he was aggressive. We saw a clip. It was a timeout when he was being he was very animated. He was very animated, very vocal on the bench, and not animated with all due respect, but just his passion was coming out. So it was like I feel like in the third quarter, when Kyrie came along, Luka started to come along. We couldn't really bring the rest of the team. Nobody else was responding, because in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, you saw Paul George. He came along, and I feel like it was a play in the game. I forget what quarter it was. I think it was in the third quarter when you're trying to get back in the game, you got to take everything that you can get. It was a play. I can't remember who it was. It was it Maxi Kleber or was it? I forgot who it was. James Harden shot a three. They called a foul, but when you saw the instant replay, when they zoomed in, it looked like it was zero contact. Though James Harden is great at creating those, like he's he good at creating those opportunities. Like him, like guys like Jamal Crawford used to be good at that, especially from three. But it was like Luka was begging Jason Kidd to challenge that, and he didn't challenge that. So it was just like when stuff like that happens, you got to do anything you can.
Momentum swing. Had that call been overturned, that's a big momentum swing to swing in the Mavericks' favor. Even though they're still down at that point, the momentum just changed. That three was costly, and I looked at it, and like you said, it wasn't a lot of contact. The ball was gone after Harden fell. The ball was already in the air. He just pretty much fell to the ground due to how he likes to try to draw contact on three-pointers. Kleber wasn't in the spot that he figured he would be, and it made him fall to the ground and make it look like there was contact. But Kleber did a great job. Kleber did a great job not running into him, falling for the James Harden. Lean forward when he shoots his three-pointer. He likes to lean forward because he knows the defender has to jump forward. So it allows the contact to happen. But that was a good job by Kleber adjusting his body, slanting while coming to close out on that three-pointer. And surprisingly, they caught the foul, but he didn't touch Harden at all. But that's what happens when the momentum is so high for the home team. Everything looks like it's their favor. Like if they fall, ref is going to blow a whistle. If any type of contact bumping, ref's going to blow a whistle because the crowd's going crazy. The momentum, the energy, they don't want that to go down. So the Mavericks are just going to have to come out in game two a lot more aggressive, which I expect them to. I'm sure they will watch film. I'm most definitely sure the whole team will, because they have to understand that they beat themselves and the Clippers didn't really beat them.
Yeah, it was one of those games where whatever can go wrong will go wrong. You saw, I saw it was a play, and like especially when everything going good for the home team, the last thing you need is James Harden connected with Russell Westbrook on the alley-oop play because
Exactly.
Westbrook, he's one of the most animated players in league history because like with him it's just our passion, it's our energy. And we came down on the other side of the floor. Luka threw the same lob to Derek Lively, and he missed the lob. And on another play, Luka threw an outlet to Tim Hardaway. He missed the chippy on the layup. We looked out of sorts in the game. And like what you said, I do not expect the Mavericks to come out and shoot this poorly again. As a matter of fact, I don't think we'll shoot this poorly again throughout the rest of the series.
9 for 40 at halftime, bro, is crazy. And Stephen A said something smart at halftime. Like, if you expect the Mavericks to shoot 9 for 40 throughout the series, then you've lost it. The Mavericks will not shoot 9 for 40 for the first half. Like you say, probably for the rest of this playoff run, they won't shoot that bad again.
Another thing too, if you look at the box scores, as far as the player stats, 3 players in double figures for the Mavericks. You have 5 for the Clippers, and I think that's a no-go. You know what I'm saying? Like who we was talking about in the chat yesterday as far as like X factors. I even heard on the Colin Corey podcast today, PJ Washington, he's our third option. With all due respect to PJ, I'm gonna have to agree with Colin on this as far as like what option he probably needs to be. As far as like it's kind of unfortunate, respectfully, because it's like Luka and Kyrie, they may need a 19 points per game type of guy. And PJ is more that 10 to 13, maybe sometimes 14. Sometimes he can give you a 20-point game. In order for us to be successful, I feel like at home, he's going to need to put up at least 17 to 20 points a game. If not in 3 or 4 or 3 and 4. We may need 2 of those, but we never know who else will come alive. Maybe Tim Hardaway have a 16-point game. Maybe Daniel Gafford have a 17-point double-double, or Derek Lively have a 13-point double-double off the bench. We just need some sort of activity from the other guys too, because I told you the stars shine on the road. If we could just steal game 2, because I think we'll definitely come out shooting better. If we could tie this up 1-1 and go back home, we'll be all right, man.
Right. And not to even cut you off, but that's see, the thing about PJ Washington is I get that he's not your 17 to 20 point guy average. He's not that. Like you say, he's more around 9.5, 10 points, honestly 15 at best. But in this matchup specifically, if Kawhi is going to be on the bench, he has to be aggressive. I'm not asking him to score 30, 25. Actually, he doesn't even have to score 20. I just need him to be aggressive. I will take 13 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists. I will take that because that is a lot better than 11 points and 2 rebounds. He has to be a lot more aggressive. And I need Jason Kidd to make a lineup change. And I know it sounds crazy, but I mentioned it yesterday. Daniel Gafford is not the center for the starting spot in this series. Just this series. We'll need him if we match up against somebody like Denver, Phoenix. We'll need him then because Jokic is going to need that big body, not a small, skinny body like Lively. He's going to need a big body on him. Versus if we're playing, hypothetically, the Suns, Yusuf Nurkic is not really a dominant back down guy. Daniel Gafford can handle him. But in this series, Zubac is an older player. Daniel Gafford plays into his favor because Daniel Gafford is a little slower on the offensive end. He's only going to get you tip dunks and maybe some cuts to the layup for a layup. But Lively he's a lot longer. He's younger. He's quicker. He has more energy. He brings a lot more of confusion if they throw him into the starting lineup. He can tire Zubac out just by being active. But that's my thought of it. I'm not sure if he'll do it. Probably won't. But I think that will be a big key. I remember back in 2011, I remember Rick Carlisle making a lineup change. I can't remember exactly what series it was, but I remember Deshaun Stevenson was coming off the bench and they inserted, if I'm not mistaken, it was JJ Barea.
That's what I was going to say.
Sometimes the lineup will fluctuate from series to series. And after about 1 or 2 games, you got to understand which player benefits you better against this team, because the playoffs is all about matchups.
Yeah, you said something earlier I want to get to as far as like Kawhi not playing and you need the PJ to be more aggressive. I think that's kind of like the heartbreak. And I was telling shout out to DeWan, one of my coworkers, I was telling him it's just heartbreaking when he's not playing and we didn't get to steal this one. I don't know if he'll play game 2. I'm pretty sure at this point he'll play game 2. But game 1 was definitely like the opportunity. I feel like the Mavericks and the Pacers both lost the opportunity. But it's
like Shaq said, the others. It's about the others.
I'm looking at the stat line as far as player points. We got 4 players that scored 3 points. And it's like the other players scored 6 points, 4 points. Derrick Jones Jr. has 0 points, 1 rebound, 18 minutes. It's like we got to get something from some of these other guys. Like these guys got to be aggressive. They got to knock down these shots. I felt like Luka and Kyrie gave everything. It gave they all. I felt like Kyrie really was like the spark, especially in the third quarter, because Kyrie is one of the most difficult guards in the history of the NBA to guard, because like his finishing ability. Sometimes he could be a sneaky rebounder. He's a 3-level scorer. He could pull up from 3. He could run out in transition. He get to the free throw line. His mid range is amazing. We all know about his floaters, his finishing around the rim. We already know that. And it's like him trying to galvanize everybody, and the other players just couldn't come along. I don't want to just keep calling them other players, but like the other players on the team, they just can't seem to come along. Like Derrick Jones Jr. 0 points. Really, Daniel Gafford was kind of like he couldn't really play. He only had 14 minutes. It's like this wasn't his game. It's like JJ Redick said, I think it was a playoff series against the Spurs back when he played for the Clippers. He was like, Doc Rivers told him, like, listen, this isn't your series. I might need you to stand in the corner and just shoot, because, you know, JJ Redick like to come off a lot of ball screens. So it's like when you come off a screen and Greg Popovich got a defender already waiting at the top for you, there's not much you can do. And especially with like good defenders at that time, like Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard, you know what I'm saying? So it's like in this series, we'll see what changes Jason Kidd makes in game 2. And if Kawhi comes back and they end up playing like this again, which I feel like with Kawhi back, some of that offensive opportunity, I'm not saying it's going to be there for everybody like it was yesterday.
It drops. It actually benefits the Mavericks in a certain way, not to cut you off, because he's going to take away those shots from the other players that was in a groove. Because, you know, when the superstars are on the floor and players get in grooves, sometimes the others can't get in enough groove because you have to give that ball back to the superstar. And just to add on to what you were saying, the Mavericks from the others was 3 of 14. Over combined minutes played, 20 minutes combined throughout all the others. They averaged 20 minutes, the others did, and they all shot 3 for 14 from the 3-point line. That's less than 30% almost, if not probably just barely over. So that just can't happen. They have to gain some type of confidence. And I think that's Luka and Kyrie's responsibility. They if you notice, the Clippers, they got Zubac involved early. They got all their other players involved early because they're at home. So
I think in game 2, what I would like to see defensive intensity from the tip off. The sense of urgency, it definitely needs to be there, because like, let's not get mistaken. Do I think we could win the series? Of course, but going back down 2-0 against an experienced team at this stage in all of their careers, because they are battle tested, and it's like, I know we could go back home and tie it up 2-2 if we down 0-2, but it's just like, why even be in that spot?
Harder for yourself?
Why even be in that spot? What I'm trying to figure out is who is the guy, who will be the guy, that third option. Or not even the third option, but like the X factor that could come in the game. Who can be the unsung hero in game 2? Like somebody just had 19 to 20 this game. Can it be Tim Hardaway? Can it be a PJ Washington?
I think it has to be Dante Exum. And I know I say that because I'm not sure if PJ has the aggressive mindset to attack. He may have to gain it as the playoffs go along, but he doesn't have that aggressive mindset. He doesn't have to settle for 3. He shot 7 3-pointers last night for 2 for 7. he doesn't have in this series specifically. He doesn't have to settle for 3-point jump shots. We have plenty of 3-point shooters. He doesn't have to settle. He has to make Paul George work on the offensive end, and he has to do something on the offensive end for his case to make Paul George work. Paul George didn't shoot well last night. He was 8 for 20 from the field.
So he didn't shoot that well. No.
He didn't shoot well. It was the timing of the threes and the shots and the lobs, which what made it seem more devastating than it really was. Because Harden also himself was 8 for 17. So they all didn't go crazy, but like I said, from the 3-point line, they were dominant. So Exum played really well when he was with Utah in that Mavericks series. I want to say that was year before last. Luka got hurt the first game, if I'm not mistaken. He didn't play the game. That was with Jalen Brunson going off. Dante Exum played really well in that series alone. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, I looked up his average. It's about 15 points a game in that series. So he's gonna have to come along and play with a little more confidence. Out of all the others, he looked the least confident to me yesterday.
I'm looking at the numbers now, and really the second half, because we did do some things well. If you look at it, as far as rebounding, we was right there with them. We got to the free throw line 20 more times than they did. So it's like you get to the line and you get to stop the clock and miss your comeback. So like that's a positive too. We have more steals, we have more blocks, points in the paint. We was only 4 points behind them. So it's like we increased our activity in the second half. The problem was, like I told you, by that time their rhythm was already in place. So it was like anytime we made a run, I think the biggest run we made was like 10-2. We went on a 10-2 run. That's kind of the run I was looking for. And in my notes, and I was telling y'all, Luka normally has an imprint on the game in the first half. He didn't have that.
He did not.
Second half, he kind of did. Him and Kyrie both had their hand in the game. But the problem was the Clippers were already in rhythm. You saw like 2 or 3 out of timeout plays that came successfully, especially for Paul George.
Especially for Paul George.
Yeah,
great play ran. Shout out to Ty Lue for that. That was a great play ran. I was looking at that play the whole game, and they had already been running that play, but they wasn't going that way because they were hitting so many shots. But they ran that play multiple times throughout the game, and they finally went to it because the Mavericks never picked up on it.
Yeah, he came with because it was some times where we got the game down to 15 points. I remember they called a timeout. And immediately out of the timeout, they went to Paul George. I think it was a point in the game where Paul George scored 3. He had 3 baskets in a row. He had he drove to the lane for a pull up. He had a midi pull up, and then he had like a wing 3. He cashed that too. So it was like you got him involved. Harden is already going. Westbrook is energizing the crowd.
The others is already came to show up. Yeah, it was
everybody already playing.
It was gonna be real difficult. It was like every time the Mavericks would cut a lead, the Clippers would either hit a 3, run some magnificent play that'll get the crowd right back up. And like I said, the Mavericks didn't have many turnovers. They had 8 turnovers, so they took care of the ball. It's the shooting. It's the shooting that was so bad. They were 10 for 33 from the 3-point line. They were 38% for the game, 39%. That's bad. You're not gonna beat the worst teams in the league with that type of shooting.
Yeah, the Clippers just shot the ball real well. 40 for 87. That's almost 50% for the game. They shot 50% from 3. That was pretty much making almost everything. They kind of got what they wanted. And even in the second half, when we started to make a run, you notice Harden cooled down. It's like he wasn't as aggressive as he was. He hit a few shots, but he wasn't as aggressive. He only had 8 points.
I figured he would be.
Second half.
That's typically James Harden.
Paul George came along. So it's like in game 2, I kind of want to just see us be more aggressive. Like I said, defensive intensity. I don't want to see Gaffer picking up those early fouls if he can help it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to need him and Derek Lively both playing at a high level because these are this is an important playoff run for us.
It is.
You know, everybody's relatively healthy. We clicked at the right time. You know, we just came out and laid an egg. That's how it happens. It happens to the best teams, you know. So in game 2, I really want to see us. I want to see how they respond. Hopefully, Jason Kidd get everybody ready for that. You got anything else, Rod?
Just one last point about Daniel Gaffer. I actually think him coming in with the bench players, I think it'll actually be more effective because if you notice, Kyrie's more of in the game in the second quarter, and Luka's kind of on the bench.
Yeah, he balanced it out between those two here.
After Zubac leaves the game, the Clippers don't really have anybody that's big on the inside that's active that could get Gafford in that type of foul trouble. If I could call Jason Kidd out his personal number, I call him now and be like, look, you have to start Derek Lively. You have to. You have to let Gafford come off the bench and play with the others. He brings the energy that the others need. I think his energy will help Dante Exum. I think his energy will help Maxi Kleber. I think his energy will help a lot of the second role players. And it gives them a secondary big man inside that can get some offensive rebounds against that small lineup that the Clippers like to run when they put Zubac on the bench, when they have Coffee in the game running center, and then they have to they're going so small that they have Paul George running power forward, and you have Terrence Mann having to play small forward. Mm-hmm. You got Russell at point guard, and you got James at shooting guard. That's a very small lineup. Gafford could have his way against that lineup. I just think that should be something everybody should be looking at when it comes to the first matchup and the first film change that they should look at that they need is definitely that. Lively's going to have to be big in this series.
I appreciate your insight, man. Hopefully we can run this back at the end of the game too, man. I appreciate y'all for supporting the channel, man. Appreciate the KiddRodd for pulling up, man. We're going to get at y'all later. Peace.